All right. Good morning, afternoon, evening, everyone, whoever's watching this and wherever you might be watching it from. Yeah, welcome to today's campfire. And we have, a few more bug fixes to show. And also, I think Tristan's going to walk through a particular piece of functionality in NoCode-X. So, Tristan, with that, go ahead and take it away.
Okay, guys. I'm going to try. We'll try to show you as much as possible what we've done. Sometimes I will not be able to show you, but I'll be able to tell you. So you're seeing my screen, right? Yes. Well, there are quite a lot of bug fixes that we've done and minor improvements. It is a bit the same as last week where I showed you guys 17 bug fixes slash minor improvements. This week I haven't counted them, but it should be approximately the same. To start to kick it off, we have we are constantly working on rocket mode and improving rocket mode. You guys know that, and we've found a way to actually create pages even without create pages in rocket mode without the need of this much tokens. So this means that creating pages with rocket mode will become cheaper for us, but also cheaper for you because we are just counting a margin on those tokens. All in all, the rocket mode will become cheaper the next release. That's the first thing, the first major improvement that we've done. The second thing is rocket mode does now support the creation of it supported already the creation of charts on pages, but it filled it up with dummy data. As I think I mentioned it last week, we've now completed the functionality of Rocket Mode, filling up the charts that it creates with actual data from the database. So what it does is, based on your need, it does a query on the database. It will probably do some calculations based on whatever comes out of that query, and then it puts it in either a line chart, bar chart, pie chart, or radar charts. So that's the next thing that we've done with regards to rocket mode. What we've also done, and this I can show you because it wouldn't take too long to show you guys if at least this page here is loading. But I'll start talking. So what we've done is we've actually optimized rocket mode, or the rocket mode that we had today. We've optimized it quite a bit, and it responds much faster than before. So you should get really an answer in a couple of seconds, while sometimes you had to wait quite a while before. So let me quickly show you guys. So if I open up rocket mode and put a prompt in here, I should get an answer in a couple of seconds. Um, now, yeah, this wow, the answer is already there. Next question, and I should get an answer. And this is with for every single question that you go back and forth with rocket mode, you should get an answer much faster from now on. You might have seen it or you might have not seen it with this demo. We've added something to rocket mode where every time the AI is quote unquote thinking, we added some tips that we will show you with regards to what rocket mode is generating for you, but also with regards to general knowledge on NoCodeX. So this is a way we can actually share some knowledge with you while you are using rocket mode. So for example, if rocket mode is creating a login page, we will show you like tips on where to configure these login pages after rocket mode is done, where to maybe how to create users and so on. So those are really small tips, always with a link to the documentation where you can read a much more um, elaborate explanation. So these are the things that we've done to rocket mode. Again, with regards to the bugs that come out of Rocket Mode, we are constantly fixing it. We're constantly looking for ways to improve whatever comes out of Rocket Mode. We've also heavily focused on the actual logic that comes out of Rocket Mode. Sometimes there were some logic that was created that still generated some errors, resulting in, for example, a page not being loaded correctly or not being loaded at all. So we are constantly fixing those things, and gradually the amount of errors that come out of Rocket Mode should be reduced. So voila, this is what we've done with regards to Rocket Mode. Now, with regards to general the visual development layer, actually, we've done several improvements on the template editor. So I'm saying improvements, but there are actually bug fixes. So the first one is the fact that and they're all quite similar, but a link it wasn't visualized exactly in the same way as on the application level. So a link could have, like, for example, a background, some margin, some padding, and it is visualized in a way in the actual application, but visualized slightly different in the template editor. So we fixed it to make those two things visualize exactly the same. So if you now start changing stuff on a link, you should see every change that you do on the link, exactly how it will appear in your application. So that's the first thing. Now, there was also an issue with regards to, for example, if I have a button right here and I add a shadow to this button, or maybe I should show it with a vertical list. Maybe that's better. So I add a vertical list like here, and then I add a shadow to this vertical list like this. Voila. So this is a bad shadow. Maybe I should, to get it 100% clear, I should have a bigger blur radius and a smaller spread radius like this. So you add a shadow to a vertical list, whatever. Now, what used to happen is, first of all, when you have borders flipped on, you wouldn't even see the shadow. So the shadow would not be there in template editor. And if you hover over a part or an element, the shadow would disappear as well. So we fixed that bug. Shadows are now consistently throughout all the UI elements remaining correctly in the template editor. Now every form field or input field or whatever input field or email field and so on can now have a margin attached to it. So you can say I'm gonna use a margin of like 50 or maybe 5, and the margin will be taken into account. So that's done for every form field and for every text field as well. So there's a difference between. So this is a little bit of a text. This is input field, and this is a text field, which is in fact a bigger input field. So they all have a margin now, so you can use that margin to style your pages. And again, we made sure that the styling is exactly the same on the template editor as is on the actual application itself. So with regards to the, let me just, okay. So what was also an issue when you created a new element and you went over to something for fonts, some of these fields were empty. Which didn't really resemble a correct state of the font state on this element. So now they all have the correct default value filled in for you to change afterwards. So what you actually see here is an exact representation of how the font is visualized in both the template editor and the actual application. Voila. Now those are the fixes with regards to the template editor. Let's dive down into some other fixes that we did. So we had somebody mentioning that he wanted to query a current or a certain user based on the user ID to be able to populate or to exchange the created by, because created by is an ID in the wait, I should explain myself a little bit better. When you create a data schema, for example books, and you create data for it in NoCode-X, so you create data for it in NoCode-X like this, book one, or maybe even let's just create some test data. Books create 10 book test data. Voila, something like this. So while the AI is creating some test data, I can explain what I mean. So if you create a data schema and you create some data for it, it gets some default metadata, a few fields, and those are mainly fields with regards to auditing. So for example, you get the latest, the date in which this piece of data was created. That's all automatically stored for you. You get which user actually created this data, and then you get the date this data was last updated, and then the user that updated this data last. So but with regards to the users, we don't really store the actual user in those fields. We store the user ID in those fields. So this particular NoCode-X developer wanted to use these IDs and fetch the current user, or the user that is responsible for modifying data or creating data. He wanted to fetch it from the database and show the username instead of the actual ID. So last time I think I've shown you the get the user by ID, find user by ID function. This time we've added a little bit of extra. So this function can be used to fetch a user by an ID from the database. What we've done right now is we've also added the fact that you can actually get the identifier of the currently logged in user in your actions. So it used to be in a way that you can only get the email address, but now you can also get the user ID of the currently logged in user. So, and then again, you can store it somewhere or use fetch user by ID in your actions to be able to reason with that. So that's another thing that we have fixed. Guys, if you have questions during my my presentation, please interrupt me. What you might have noticed is that this is a different color than before. So the action blocks have a different color right now, and actually we've added a color coding to the action block. So as you can see, my write an application log has an actual different color than my start block, unless I'm selecting it. Of course, it will be purple. But and what we've done is we've color coded the blocks according to two different categories. So first of all, the category that you find here, everything within the same category will have a certain color. And then we've also, and this is not represented right here yet, but we've also categorized them according the actual action that they do. So for example, if I open up data, we have for example, create. This is an add action, so it will have the add color attached to it. if we find something like delete, this is a delete action, so it will have the delete function or the delete color attached to it. So and of course in combination with the category color that create data has. And now of course we still have this error thing going on here. So so as you can see, it is again another color based on the category. So that's something else that we've done to improve the user interface or the user experience of NoCode-X. Another thing that we have done, and that was also an issue. Let me quickly remove these right here. Yes. Oh, remove it. I didn't meant to copy it. Okay, I had probably already. Okay, so apparently I'm constantly clicking copy, whatever. So okay, the other thing that we've done is with regards to a couple of components or elements. First of all, the tab element and the stepper element, which can create like a wizard-like flow for your application. And then we have the accordion element. These all, well, they could in the past they could especially create contain some other elements inside of them. But what wasn't possible is using placeholders in the name of those elements. So, for example, I couldn't do something like this where I say top one, the name of top one will be replaced by any value which I add for this placeholders. So we've fixed that, we've corrected that. So now you can use placeholders in the names of your tops, in the names of your steps, and in the names of your accordions. And it doesn't end there, but you can also use them for the icons that you want to show. So you can make more of a dynamic view on your on tops and steps and accordions. That's another thing that we've done. Now, with regards to another one of our user interface elements, for example, the data table, which contains a few columns and then a few columns and a few rows. So maybe I'll just digress a little bit, but I think I didn't discuss this last time. But what we've also done is you might not see this, but these little balls that you see right here, or these little circles, are grayed out, which actually means that you cannot control them to resize the element. And the reason why you cannot resize it is you can see that when you hover over it. So there is a message now, and it says it cannot resize horizontally because the width is set to fit to content. And fit to content means this data table is sized according to the content inside this data table. So if you remove this fit to content and you set it to, like, for example, a couple of pixels, and you set also the width to a couple of pixels, then you will be able to adjust the height of this element right here. So these are another thing that we've done. Now, what I wanted to mention is that we've also done a couple of, and sometimes you see this unknown error popping up. That's just because I'm running a local environment right here, and the local environment is having trouble with connecting to one of the development environments. But what I wanted to show you guys is we've had this thing called, if I'm not mistaken, called add objects to, or add an object list to a data table. The idea was simple. You fetch a list of data records from the database, which I'm going to do right now. So I fetch books. I say the amount of books to be fetched is 10. And then I've got some found data. Let's write this out to the log and let's see if we can fetch the books. So up, I log the found data. And then the idea is that, well, of course, you when you fetch something from the database, you always fetch the data, including the metadata. So I want to get rid of the metadata, and there is one little function that you can use to do this, and this is called map to body. So it only contains then the actual data of books. And now, while I'm saying this, I might want to add like at least one property of books. And I don't know if I already created. Yeah, I created these books. So let me just quickly add here title 1 and title 2, title 3, title 4, or 4 must do what I say, title 5, and so on. So that will be enough. So when we load this page, what I want to do is I want to fetch all the books from the database, and I want to map them to a certain, well, to only their data, and then I want to add list of object to data table like this. And the data table that I want to add a list of object to is this one, data table code, and the data that I want to add is book, like this. So what it results in, and let me bust the cache real quickly. What it results in is, I'll have to get rid of the columns as well and the rows on this data table. So this data table is now empty. And if I load this page, it should see some books in my database. Of course, the classic mistake. I have to undo the authentication right here. And well, so there is there was already some data added to the dates to the books as well. Now the thing is, by default, it hides the identifier of the actual item, or of the actual row. So what we've did on request is we've enhanced a little bit this function, and now it allows you to switch off hiding the identifier column. By default, it will always hide it, but if you switch it off, and I have to close the cache real quickly, you should see now an identifier column for this record right here. Voila. Of course, you can order those columns in any way you want by just defining the columns right here on this data table. That's another thing that we've done. Something else that we've done is somebody pointed out to us that when generating APIs through the API generator, the old the data was not correctly mapped to only the body. It contained a little bit more data than there should be. And the reason was because the API generator used an old version of the map to body function, which I've showed you earlier. So we fixed that, and we had it use the new function of the map to body. So normally generating your APIs will now correctly filter out all the audit data for a certain data record. There was also an issue with regards to reusable components. So reusable components can have parameters. So you can define parameters on your templates, and a parameter can be of type list. Let me quickly find list in here. So let's just say you have a list of parameters, or a parameter that is of type list, which is called links. Then you have like a select input type. Now these, I'll explain these shortly. Free input means I will be able to put in anything that I want. So I will be able to add strings to this or pieces of text, numbers, objects to these links. So this actually means the person that is using this parameter has freedom. Data schema input means the list of items that has to be put in here will be based on a data schema that I have created. And parameter input means I can actually define the way the input should look right here in place. So I'll choose parameter input for this one because that's where the bug occurred. And now when I select, for example, an object here, link like this, and no, I shouldn't add another parameter. I should add another parameter in here. No, this is a default value. So I again should choose, or I can choose free input for this one. So let's save it. And then I rename this one to my component for now. Like this. And then I will be able to find these things, these components in here. My component, drag and drop it into place. So this is actually the template that I have created. And as you can see here, I now have a links parameter, which I can add some links to it freely. So I can add several fields to the link because I've chosen free input. Now the issue was that you couldn't do this before with based on well, if you created a list as a parameter type, then you couldn't literally add these values in here. So we fixed that bug, so you can now add some values to the parameters that you create with type list.
Kristen,
I'm just
can you
going through my list.
can you show? So should we be able to see links in that list right there?
What do you mean?
So you've added links to a list.
Yeah.
Should I be able, looking on the template editor, should I be able to see that list of links in there?
Well, you will be able to, well, because you use these parameters right here, you will be able to do two things. So if the parameter wasn't a list, for example, you could actually use it as a placeholder. That's the first thing. So I can do something like this, or you can use it in the action that you attached to anything on this template. So for example, if I would drop like a button on this template, create an action for this button, I will be able to reason with whatever is passed to the template for the links parameter. So, and the way that you do it is actually really simple. All you have to do is create a parameter with exactly the same name on the action as is present on the template itself. If you don't want to go through this cumbersome setting, all you have to do is click this yellow message right here and you'll see the missing parameters. You click this add parameter button, hit save, and then this parameter is automatically added to your action. So what I can do now is I can start reasoning with this links array. So I would be able to do anything that I want with these values that I put in here. So so yeah, with regards to this will be like a small object containing test, and then name, I guess, or name test.
Can you run it so I can just see? I was curious what it looks like.
I can run it. I'll have to bust the cache again. Let me grab my test buster page, my cache buster page here. Voila. Yeah, and then again, classic mistake. I still have to switch off this right here. it's behind this data table, so I'm gonna remove this altogether, and then I'll reload this page. So let's see if so there is something written out here.
I think you deleted the list.
Oh, I deleted the component, so maybe I had multiple select going on, so quickly add this name like this. Okay. And then so well, I have to look into why it's not replacing this.
Okay.
Probably maybe because of this JSON thing that's going on.
Take the JSON
but
off. Let's just see what just the list just looks like. I'm fine without the
yeah.
JSON.
Let me see. But I'll think maybe I can do something like this and then see what is in the log. So as you can see here in the logs, you should have like test and name logged out, so you can use those. Now these are, because it's a free parameter list. If I could show it with the parameter typed parameter list, that would be maybe better. But you can use the data that is actually passed through this thing right here. So yeah, I'll have to bust the cache again to be able to see that. And this will be empty probably, yeah. So I'll have to look into why it is not replacing this correctly or using this pipe correctly. Maybe I'm even using the incorrect pipe. Now, what I've shown you is that I'm logging this links array right here. I'm passing the data to this template right here. And what you see in the logs is in this message here, a list of the data that I'm passing through. So I might be, maybe if I just quickly change the parameter input to actual parameter input, because I did that to be passed actually, like this, and then I add another one to this, for example, first name. Then I can go down to a name template again. I remove this one and I'll add something like this, and then if I bust the cache again and I click this button, I should see something else in my. So I'll have to look at those ideas. Might be writing it out in a certain way, but at least we get the data through. So that's the idea behind these parameters right here.
Okay. But right there where it says select a template, it's a blank. That would have anything to do with it, would it? Where it says my component.
Excuse me?
On the right side where it says select a template.
Yeah.
Is that supposed to be blank?
Is that blank for you? Blank for you? I can see my component.
Oh,
here.
okay. My component. Okay, gotcha. Never mind. Okay. I thought that was a placeholder text. I didn't realize that was an actual.
No,
okay, gotcha.
that's because I named my template right here, my component.
Got it. My mistake. Okay. All right, cool.
I'm just going through my list here. Folders and titles. Yeah, the only thing left for me to show you guys is, which is probably interesting as well. So let me grab an action right here, and you've got these functions that allow you to get something from the database. So for example, here, fetch a list of data records. We can fetch books, and then you can add some filters to it. Now, sometimes you want to create your filters in a dynamic way. Think about an advanced search or of some kind that you want to build, and based on what is filled in to that advanced search, you want to add a filter to this query or not. What you could do in that case is you can prepare a list of filters by using the add filter to a list of filters function. And what this does is it adds, it does exactly what it says. It adds a filter to a list of filters. For example, I want to add a book to an existing list of filters. If I leave this empty, it will create a new one. And then I want to add a certain filter. For example, name equals Lord of the Rings, for example. And I can execute these kind of blocks several times, and I can by doing that I can let me just call this filter list. I can create a list of filters, prepare a list of filters for my query. So I can add again creation date is less than, and then I should have to pass a date to it, which I create with another block, but you get the picture. And what I can do then is I can add the list of filters to this filters, and it will be executed with this list of filters that you prepared for this query. So that's the way you do dynamic queries in NoCode-X. Now the thing was creating a list of filters, even if you didn't add a filter to it, it created a dummy filter by default, which then actually your list of filters always contained 2 filters while executing this job. Now this didn't have any really implications, but it was not perfect when you logged the list of filters in the application log, for example. It didn't show up correctly. So that's why we fixed this bug as well. But this has been fixed after the campfire last week. So that's the last bug fix that I will show you today. And we have still 50 minutes left, and then I can show you a little bit of an introduction on how to execute actions from within actions. But first, I want to say something. So last week, we've shown you 17 bug fixes. Today, I shown you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 bug fixes, which actually means that we're like 32 bug fixes in 2 weeks times. So if you have the idea that we are ignoring bugs, we are certainly not ignoring bugs. We are actually fixing them at a quite rapid rate. Now it can be that your particular bug that you've mentioned to us is not fixed yet. We have to be completely transparent about this. We prioritize bugs on 2 factors. First factor is how many people are they impacting, and the second factor is how easy can we actually fix the bugs as well. So what I wanted to say is, don't worry, we're picking up all the bugs that are coming our way, and we're moving actually at a rapid speed with regards to bug fixing as well, just to get us to a very mature situation. Okay, so what I wanted to show you guys today is something that I've been getting some questions on in the last few weeks. So there are several ways of running actions from within actions. So let me show you, for example, this load image button. The idea is that if I click this button, an image will appear in this image placeholder. So the action behind it is just called load image, and let's have a look at this action. So what this does is it starts. I think it's incorrect, but it waits a few seconds. like 5,000 milliseconds, and then it sets an image to a certain URL on the page. So that's all it does. Nothing too fancy. Now I have this other button right here, load an image asynchronously. So what it does is it's called load image wrapper. And what it does is it starts and it executes an action. And the action that it executes is simply load image. So the action that we've looked at in a few seconds ago. Now you have several modes of loading this or executing this action. So the first mode is default, which means that it will run synchronously. So the action that is executing the other action will wait to execute everything that comes after it until the inner action is done executing. That's the default behavior. You can also choose an asynchronous execution, which actually means that the wrapper, the load image wrapper in this case, will execute. And while it is executing the inner action, load image, it will not wait for an answer. It will not wait for anything in particular. It will just continue the execution of the rest of the logic after this execute action. So this actually means that if your load image has an output, this output will not be reflected in this wrapper action. This is something that we have to pick up in the future, but outputs on asynchronously executed actions make no sense at this point in time. So the third option is running something asynchronously with a front-end answer, which actually means that if you choose this and you do something to the front end in the inner action, then the front end will launch the action, so it will execute the outer action. It will not wait on an answer from the inner action, and it will receive an answer once the inner action is done. It might sound a bit complicated, but I'll show you in a second. So what I've configured this as is asynchronous with front end answers. So let's have a look at how it works. So I think I can just open it without busting the cache for the moment. So as we can see, we have load image, and I want if I click load image button, I want you to focus on the bottom right corner of the screen, because that will show a loading indicator, which means that the front end is actually waiting on the back end to answer with an answer. So let's see. So as you can see, the loading indicator is here, and it will be here for 5 seconds because we have a wait period of 5 seconds. And then the image is being filled in, right? So let's try that again with the load image async. And please look at the right bottom corner of the screen. So load image, it quickly has a loader and no loader because the front end is not waiting on an answer. And now there is an answer. Why is this? Why is this important? Sometimes when you're doing things in your application, it can take longer than, like, for example, 30 seconds or 60 seconds. If you have the front end wait on that, that will hurt the experience of your users of your application, firstly. And secondly, you might hit something that we call is a timeout, where the front end will just give up because the front end will think, I'm not getting an answer from the back end. So if your processing takes a little bit longer than like 30 seconds, 10 seconds, 20 seconds, you might be better off by doing an asynchronous call. A very good example of this is when you actually are calling an LLM, which we all know are not fast, and you have to wait until you get a response from that LLM. You might want to be better off with using an asynchronous execution. This is also, I have a video, I'll have to look it up, on YouTube, but I've shown this before. You can use this asynchronous way of calling to make a sort of loop in your actions, to have, like, for example, a graph that automatically fetches new data from an API, for example, and automatically refreshes this graph, a line chart, for example, based on that new data. So you will see that graph changing automatically. I might maybe if I can prepare a little bit next time, Steve, I can prepare a demo on that as well. So that's one way of executing actions inside actions. Another way is what I've tried to put up here 5 minutes before the campfire. But you have a way of caching the result of an action as well. So let's just open up this. So I have this button execute and I have this button execute with cache. So let's see. This create title uncached, it calls an action, which is called create title. And let me switch off the cache right here. And then this action create title has an output, which is called title, and the name of the variable that I want to use in my outer action, I will also call title. And after this action is executed, I use the value that is in that variable title, I use it to fill up a title that's on my page. Let's dive into the action create title. It's very simple. It creates a string. That's all it does. It creates a string with the value hey ho in it. Let's make it a little bit more obvious, because I want to have it wait also 5 seconds. So this action waits 5 seconds and then creates a string hey ho. And the most important thing is I've defined an output on this action named title, and because my variable here is named title, this will be used as an output of this action, which will enable my outer action to work with the data that has been put here in the string title. So let's execute it. I made a change in the action, so I'll have to bust the cache again, reload this page. Okay, so if I execute this one, I should see hey ho within 5 seconds. So as you can see, the title is changed to hey ho. It cost me 5 seconds to do that. So if I now open up the other action where I say execute with cache, and this is called create title cached, what it does is it does exactly the same thing actually. It executes an action, but now the cache results is switched, is kept on. And now I will also call this title, and then I will select title code here, and then I will select the value also to be title. So it is almost the same function, action. The only difference is the fact that I say, but I want the result to be cached here, and I'll explain this value in a second. So let's bust the cache again. And if I execute this the first time, it'll take 5 seconds. I'll reload this page. Second time, it is immediate, as you can see. So it doesn't take 5 seconds. So I'll click it again. As you can see, no 5 seconds wait. Reason is simple, because this action is not executed anymore. We just cache the results of this action, and then you can use the results of this action in further logic of the outer action. Now, there are things that you should know about this caching functionality. First of all, you can adjust the time to live, so TTL, which is the amount of milliseconds we should keep the output of this action in the cache memory. In this case, it's 60,000, so that's 60 seconds, right? Another thing that you should know is the cache is based on the parameters that you are or the values of the parameters you are passing to the actual inner action. So if I would have a parameter, for example, name or actual title, for this create title action, for this create title action, and I would pass title 1, for example, then it will create a record in the cache for the key title 1. If I then pass title 2, it will execute the action again because it has a different key. So the keys are based on the action parameters, and the output is stored a certain time, a certain amount of time in the cache, which you can configure right here. So are there any questions with regards to that? Thanks, Eddie. Thanks. But I know this can be, this is a bit the more complicated parts of NoCode-X, but if anybody has a question about that, please raise your voice. I'm fine with answering it. No questions? All right.
Okay, and we're at time.
We're at time. Yeah. So that's it from my regards. If anybody has something else that they want to discuss, we still have 1 minute left. I can talk fast.
Hey Tristan, it's Eddie. I just had a quick question, not really related to much we talked about today. I just thought as far as the community, and I know you guys have in the past based on your YouTube videos. I know you've done like community challenges with like the forums, I believe it was. I didn't know if you guys were looking into doing something like that in the future or more of that in the future. I don't know how the community will react to it, but I do feel like it is probably a lot more smarter people than me in the community that, you know, that I would like to see what they would build in like community challenge based setting. And I'm competitive, so right now I just like am messing around trying to build my own apps for my own like specific use cases. But I think it would be fun and competitive, and see like how other people would build certain things in the challenge setting. So that's all I had to say.
Yeah, I think that's a very good suggestion. I think we should take this along, Steve. Let's discuss this and see how we can do something like that, like challenger or gamify a little bit, because we now have a lot of more tools in place than the last time we did this. For example, the share folder, which should well, be interesting how people to see how people use this to their advantage.
Yeah, it's a good idea. Cool. All righty. There's no other questions. We'll go ahead and break for this session. So thank you all for joining. Any final words from you, Tristan?
See you next week.
Profound.
Yes. Next week again with a whole bunch of bug fixes and a whole bunch of new features.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next week.
Yeah, bye, guys. Thanks.
Bye.